This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. More on them later. Okay, one of the greatest mysteries in One Piece is the Void Century, right? A massive world-shattering event that was straight up wiped from history, leaving behind only scattered fragments for us to piece together. Over the years, Oda has carefully dropped hints about an ancient war that shaped the One Piece world as we know it. And now, with Franky's discovery of that mysterious painting, we might finally be looking at a visual representation of what went down. Now we found also there's a building that's been in Elbaph for over 3,000 years. This is groundbreaking stuff, and so let's talk about how we could tie into the world of One Piece already, because the painting makes one thing clear. This war wasn't just some political struggle. It was a clash of civilizations, ideologies, and possibly even gods. We're talking about a world-spanning event between an advanced ancient kingdom and the forces that would later become the world government. Joy Boy was at the heart of it, but he wasn't alone. The ancient weapons, the Lunarians, the giants, the minks, so many factions were involved. And if that painting is anything to go by, the battle also included massive creatures like Zunisha and potentially even Pluton, not as ships or weapons, but as living beings. But guys, to truly understand this painting, okay, we need to go arc by arc and examine the clues Oda has given us over the years. And the first major piece of the puzzle, Skypiea. You ever wonder about how to get your business online without the headache? I did. I tried juggling sites and sales myself, and it was a mess. It took me forever to figure out design, payments, and all that jazz. That's where today's sponsor, Squarespace, steps in. It's a platform that handles design, sales, payments, all in one place. I used it to build a solid site, perfect for growing my work and building my own legacy, like a captain charting a course. Squarespace uses design intelligence, smart tech that unlocks your creative potential. It built me a professional site, no coding needed. Their payment system manages sales and invoices. Klarna, Apple Pay, you name it, they do it. Squarespace Payments simplifies tracking sales and printing shipping labels. It is a complete setup for any business, whether you're just starting up or scaling up. And with the online store feature, I set it up to sell products seamlessly. It's like having a crew that handles the heavy lifting while I focus on the business. Want to try it? Go to squarespace.com/B.D.A law for a free trial, and you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Click the link in the description. It's right on the screen here. Check it out. Now back to the video. At first glance, right, Skypiea might seem just like another adventure. Luffy punches a self-proclaimed god, the crew finds some treasure, everyone moves on. But this arc, man, this arc was actually packed with so many hints about the Void Century that people who skipped it are going to regret it, right? Going to regret it after Elbaph. They already regretting it, because let's start with Shandora. This wasn't just some random ancient city. It was a thriving civilization that got completely wiped out by invaders. Does that sound familiar? That's exactly what happened to the ancient kingdom. The war between the Shandians and the Skypieans mirrors the larger battle between Joy Boy's forces and the world government. The Shandians were labeled as savages, forced into hiding and ultimately crushed by a technologically superior enemy. And then there's the Golden Bell. The message left behind by the ancient kingdom was carved onto a poneglyph hidden in Shandora. That's huge because it confirms that the ancient kingdom had allies scattered across the world from places like Wano, Zou, Alabasta, and even Elbaph that we're knowing now. These civilizations were trying to preserve Joy Boy's story, ensuring that even if they lost the war, the truth would not be completely erased. But here's where things get really wild, okay? Do you remember this giant snake, Nola? This thing had been around for 400 years, and in the painting that Franky just found, we see a massive serpent-like creature involved in the ancient battle. Could Nola be a descendant of one of the creatures from the Void Century? Maybe these giant serpents were guardians, similar to Zunisha, or even weapons like Pluton and Poseidon. And speaking of weapons, we have to talk about Enel's Arc Maxim. This was a flying warship, powered by an endless energy source. If that sounds suspiciously similar to the ancient kingdom's technology, that's because it probably is. Enel basically built his own version of Uranus without even realizing it. Now, if the ancient kingdom had access to this kind of power, it makes perfect sense why the world government feared them so much. Next, let's talk about Alabasta. This kingdom wasn't just important because of Crocodile or the Pluton poneglyph. It also has a major piece of the puzzle regarding the Void Century. For starters, the Nefertari family did something no other royal family did. They rejected the celestial dragons, rejected them. When the world government was first formed, all the major ruling families were invited to move to Marijoa, but the Nefertaris refused. That alone tells us that Alabasta had ties to the ancient kingdom, whether they were directly allied with Joy Boy or just sympathizers. They clearly wanted no part of what the celestial dragons were planning to become. Also, we got Pluton. The poneglyph hidden in Alabasta revealed that the weapon itself was in Wano. This raises a ton of questions. Was Pluton used in the ancient war? Was it created by the ancient kingdom as a defense mechanism for Wano? And for some reason, this giant whale right here seems like Pluton, since the only other two weapons that are already in this painting, and we got a hint in Wano that Pluton is under Wano and is currently sleeping. Is Pluton a living creature rather than just a battleship? The fact that the blueprints were preserved for generations in Water 7 tells us that people were actively trying to keep this knowledge alive, just like the Shandians did with the poneglyph, guys, one of the biggest mysteries here is whether the Nefertari family betrayed Joy Boy or tried to protect his legacy, right? If they were on his side, why did they not help during the war? If they weren't, why did they refuse to join the Celestial Dragons? Either way, Alabasta was far more involved in the Void Century than they let on. Nefertari Lili. We remember that. There's more going on there. Let's talk about Zou, though, aka Zunisha, the massive walking elephant. Oh my god. Who was sentenced to wander the seas as punishment. That means it committed some kind of mistake in the war, and considering its size, it was probably one of the ancient kingdom's greatest weapons. But here's where things get interesting. Zunisha can only obey commands from a specific lineage, just like how Poseidon, Shirahoshi, controls the Sea Kings. This suggests that Joy Boy's forces had some kind of ability to command giant creatures, which lines up with the painting Frankie found. If the figure riding an elephant in the artwork is Emu, that could mean Zunisha was originally under their control, but later switched sides to help Joy Boy. Maybe that's why it was punished. It was seen as a traitor. Also, there's a road poneglyph hidden in Zou. The Minks and their ancestors were entrusted with protecting it, meaning they were directly tied to the ancient kingdom's cause. This means Joy Boy had multiple allies, each guarding different pieces of history, all waiting for someone to bring the truth to light. Wano's role in the Void Century is undeniable. The country was deliberately closed off to protect something, which was most likely Pluton. This tells us that after the ancient war, the Kozuki clan made the decision to isolate themselves, likely to prevent the world government from seizing the ultimate weapon. Also, we know for a fact that the Kozuki clan created the poneglyphs in the first place. This means that they were directly involved in recording the history of the Void Century. If anyone knew what really happened, it was them. And Toki's prophecy about Joy Boy returning also suggests that Wano had foreknowledge about a future event. Did they always know that someone would come to finish what Joy Boy started? And if so, what role will Wano play in the final battle? Will they bring out Pluton to help Luffy fight against the world government? Finally, we get to Egghead, where Vegapunk dropped the biggest bombshell yet. The ancient kingdom was technologically more advanced than anything that exists today, and he wasn't just talking about weapons. They had an energy source that could power entire civilizations, and this advanced knowledge might have been considered a threat by other kings. And then there's the biggest mystery of all, guys, the true name of the ancient kingdom. Vegapunk knows it, and the way they have been hyping the name alone since Ohara, it seems like it also holds importance to understanding the Void Century history. Okay, let me calm down. Okay, next. The mysteries surrounding Joy Boy and Nika are crazy and a bit confusing for fans, with Oda strategically dropping hints throughout the series. One of the biggest debates is whether Joy Boy and Nika are the same entity, and the latest chapter suggests that Joy Boy lived during the Void Century, but the legend of Nika was already established long before then, worshipped by enslaved people as a sun god. This implies that Nika might have been a god or mythical warrior whose will was carried on through Joy Boy, making Luffy the second inheritor of this legacy. Now, this distinction between Joy Boy and Nika is crucial in understanding the War of the Void Century. We know that Joy Boy was an individual who existed in history and attempted to fulfill a promise to Fishman Island, as revealed in chapter 649. However, Nika's origins are far more enigmatic. The legend of the sun god Nika is first mentioned by Husu in chapter 1018, right? Where he states that enslaved people believed Nika would bring them freedom. This suggests that Nika was a pre-existent entity, possibly a divine being or a symbol of liberation. Further evidence of their separation comes from the Hito Hito no Mi, modeled Nika, revealed in chapter 1044. If the fruit is modeled after Nika, it implies that Nika existed long before Joy Boy. This aligns with the idea that Joy Boy was the first known wielder of the Nika fruit, but not the originator of his power. This interpretation could mean that Joy Boy was a human who took up the role of Nika in the Great War, much like what Luffy is doing now. Now, another perspective is that Joy Boy was a title passed down across generations, similar to the Will of D. The existence of multiple Joy Boys across history has been speculated, meaning there could have been a Joy Boy in every major era who embodied Nika's spirit and ideals. This theory is just a speculation though, since the straw hat Luffy wears is pretty similar to Joy Boy's straw hat, and we know from Roger's flashback that it originally belonged to him, which he later gave to Shanks. This raises another insane possibility. What if Joy Boy wasn't even a person, but titled, just like our Pirate King isn't a name, but a rank? Maybe Joy Boy was a name passed down through generations. Whoever inherited Nika's will and carried the banner of freedom became the Joy Boy of their era. If this is true, then we could have had multiple Joy Boys throughout history, each rising whenever the world needed them. Now, while Joy Boy is often depicted as the primary opponent of Emu, the war was likely much larger in scale. The presence of ancient weapons such as Pluton, Poseidon, and Uranus suggests that the war involved massive forces on both sides. Guys, these weapons were likely Joy Boy's trump cards against Emu's forces, which may have included an early version of the Marines or even the Celestial Dragons. Oda has structured One Piece, though, to have two major endgame antagonists: Emu, the ruler of the world, and Blackbeard, the pirate nemesis of Luffy. While Emu represents the hidden force maintaining control of the world, Blackbeard represents chaos and boundless ambition. Emu's presence was first revealed in chapter 906, where he was seen sitting on the empty throne. Now, one of the most intriguing theories is that the Yami Yami no Mi is not just any Logia, but a cursed fruit housing an evil being. If this is true, then Blackbeard may not just be a powerful pirate, but the reincarnation of a vessel of an ancient enemy of Nika. This aligns with the fact that the darkness and liberation themes in One Piece seem to be at odds, making Blackbeard as the perfect antagonist for Luffy. Additionally, in chapter 440, Blackbeard explicitly states that people's dreams never die. This may be an indication that he is continuing the ambitions of a long-forgotten entity, much like Luffy's doing for Joy Boy. Now, the connection between Blackbeard's fruit and the ancient war remains unclear, but it is possible that the darkness fruit was created as a counter to Nika's powers, ensuring that a force of absolute control could always oppose the force of liberation. Now, this painting might be the most important reveal about the 4th century that Oda has ever given us. It is a single image, yet it completely rewrites what we thought we knew about the ancient war, the ancient weapons, and even Imu's role in history. Every part of this painting connects to something we've seen before, whether it's Pluton, Uranus, Noah, even Zunisha. And the biggest takeaway, this war wasn't just a war between humans. For years, Pluton was described as a warship capable of mass destruction, but there were always hints that it was more than just a machine. The latest chapter confirms that many fans suspected Pluton could be a living creature. It could be a giant whale. Now, this explains why it was compared to Poseidon, another ancient weapon that involves a living entity, Shirahoshi and the Sea Kings. It also makes sense why Pluton was hidden beneath Wano instead of being destroyed. If Pluton is indeed alive, you can't just scrap it like a regular ship. You have to contain it. Now, here's where things get even crazier. What if Laboon is connected to Pluton? We know Laboon is a massive, almost unbreakable whale, but his species is almost a complete mystery. Could he be a descendant of Pluton? Could all whales in One Piece be connected to this ancient force? Okay, we're getting kind of crazy. Either way, this confirms that the ancient wars fought with creatures. Also, not just technology. All right, guys, we've gotten to a point. There's more to come. This is part 1 of just like the breakdown of the mural and what it means to the One Piece world. Let me know if you enjoyed this, if you'd like a part 2, because I have much more to say. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BROKE, follow me on Instagram, BROKE.ace. Next video, we're going to like how this ties into Wano, the importance of Uranus, the importance of Joy Boys, and how the devil could play into all this. I don't know, guys. The first world, the rise and fall of a civilization, it's a lot to talk about, but like the video, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.